take it at around 40 to 45 miles per hour. It's approaching Vienna right now, so within less than 10 minutes, arriving there by around 4:11. This will likely arrive in Lynn by 4:30, and Owensville already seeing a strong storm at this point, but could see this cluster of storms move in by around 4:51. So between right around now and 5 o'clock is when we'll start to see these storms really intensify, especially across the eastern half of our area. I do want to switch over radars. We have 3 radars that cover mid-Missouri, so we'll take a look at the St. Louis radar right now just to show you we're a little bit finer tuned to where we have some of these areas of some larger hail. Anywhere you're seeing dark pink or black on the radar indicating where we have possibly some very large hail. I'll take a look at our severe threat tracker. This just kind of evens out where we're seeing rain versus hail, and you'll see here just off to the north of Iberia, still seeing a large hail core right there. We'll sample it where you're seeing that white. That's the possibility of seeing up to 2 or 3 inch hail, and we've seen reports of that as this moved through the Lake of the Ozarks within the last half an hour or so. So still seeing some very large hail potentially across central Miller County as that tracks in that direction, possibly up to looks like ping pong ball size hail across southern Marys County as that moves into the Highway 63 corridor. Anywhere you're seeing green, that's indicating some rainfall. So not really in that concerning zone at this point. Winds up to, let's go over to St. Louis radar again. And the good news is we're not seeing any rotation with these, but winds potentially picking up quite a bit as these storms start to form into more of a line. So you're seeing that bright green, possibly seeing some stronger winds as that line gets closer here, up to looks like around 40 to 45 mile per hour winds at this point within that warned area. Not seeing too many strong signatures right now, but as these continue to grow upscale, that's also something we're going to keep an eye on. So we'll go back out to the radar, give you a tour of the warnings. Once again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for central Gasconade County. That goes until 4:30, and also have a warning for central Osage. That's until 4:45 for large hail and up to 60 mile per hour winds. Still severe clear right now in Phelps County, but that will change. We have a warning that goes until 5 o'clock, and it's all for this cluster that's moving off to the east and northeast. So starting to get a little bit more numerous, and we've been telling you, been seeing some rain and of course some thunder and lightning in Columbia. We'll turn the lightning back on at this point. So across southern Boone County, getting quite a bit of lightning and heavy rainfall. Let's go back over Jefferson City. Even seeing some steady rainfall. Southern Cole County starting to see some of that heavier rain just south of Wardsville. So we managed to escape any severe thunderstorm warnings for Columbia and Jefferson City right now, but we'll keep a close eye on that here in the next hour or two. We're going to keep an eye on these warnings. I'll let you know if we have any more new information. If you go to our website, abc17news.com, you can share any photos you might have as these storms continue to pass through, and also keep an eye on the radar. That's right on the homepage.
This has been an ABC 17 Storm Track Weather Alert Day update.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. Continuing our weather alert day coverage this afternoon as we have several warnings in effect for severe thunderstorms that are moving through mid-Missouri at this time. We're cutting into programming right now because we have a tornado warning that is in effect for central Marys County and far northern Phelps County until 5:15. These storms continue to track generally along and east of Highway 63, rapidly moving on to the east. So our severe threat's not going to last that long this afternoon, likely about another hour and a half to 2 hours. But the storms that we've been seeing so far this afternoon have been quite intense, bringing some very large hail. And now our wind threat is also increasing, and we are also seeing a little bit of rotation here. I'll take you a little bit closer. This is just off to the east of Vienna. So Vienna is actually not included in this tornado warning, but you'll see this little signature here showing you where we have some rotation. We have some inflow going into this storm here. We are seeing that little inlet here across eastern Marys County. You'll try to get a little bit closer. It looks like that is near Lois, north of Vichy. So we probably will start to get some reports from the Rolla-Vichy airport here hopefully soon. Also some very large hail that's tracking towards James Brothers along Highway 63 south. That's where we're seeing the most intense part of this storm, and also some wind shear here where this little icon is where that possible rotation is. So we'll take a look at the velocity right now. That is starting to pick up a little bit where we're seeing that inbound and outbound signature where you're seeing green meeting red, green indicating winds flowing towards the radar and red indicating winds flowing away from the radar. So I'm going to step off for a second and just take this icon off here so we can have a better look at that rotation again. This is a tornado warning. It is in effect until 5:15 for Phelps and Marys counties. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off here so we have a better look. That rotation has picked up quite a bit here. We've been tracking these storms here for the last several hours. Mainly it has been a large hail threat. We've seen reports of up to baseball size hail in some of these storms this afternoon as they move through the Lake of the Ozarks region. But our most concerning storm right now has been this cluster that has moved out of the lake area and continued to intensify as it moves into an area where we have a little bit more wind shear, that meaning the strong winds near the surface. So this is going to continue tracking, and it looks like all of these are moving at around 30 to about 40 miles per hour. So we're going to go a little bit more conservative on the slower side to give you a better idea of where the rotation is moving with this tornado warn signature. So that's going to be moving into, actually let me close this and back out just a little bit so you have a better idea of the track of that rotation right now. It's right where I'm touching, so just north of the Highway 63 corridor is where that rotation is. So we'll put the track on it, and that's going to be moving off to the northeast at around 30 miles per hour or so. So it'll be moving into southern Gasconade County. It looks like we just got a new extension of that warning, so it also includes northern Phelps County and southern Gasconade County. That looks like that goes until 5:15 as well. So these are quickly moving through. I also have here on our in the Weather Center's forecaster Sawyer Jackson. He's been keeping an eye on the storms with me all afternoon. He's going to give us an update on the details of this warning since it just popped up. What is the speed and direction of this, Sawyer?
Yeah, so right now that warning is for Crawford, Franklin, and Gasconade, and that's until 5:15. These are moving at about 40 miles per hour. Now, this is radar indicated. It is a storm that is capable of producing a tornado. So right now, that's kind of where that warning is. It is for 5:15, once again, moving at 40 miles an hour. We do also have those reports for those hail coming in about quarter size right now. That was a report from Gasconade County over by Owensville.
Okay, so we're going to continue tracking this tornado warning. It has been extended into southern Gasconade County until 5:15. So we're going to be watching this area here. We'll get a little bit closer where you're seeing that little couplet here. That's just showing us where we have that inbound and outbound wind flow, that signature here. So I'll actually draw it for you, and we'll take a look at where that area is here. Get a little bit closer. If you're anywhere near Vienna right now or off to the east of Vienna, you're going to be in this warning, so you want to get to your safe place. That means anywhere in the interior of your home on the lowest floor. That would be a closet or a bathroom, or if you can, even better solution would be get underground if you have a basement away from windows as this continues to quickly move on to the east. So I'll clear that off and we'll take a little closer look, try to get a more of a street view here for you. So the area of rotation looks like it's right along County Road 318 near Lindell and County Road 32, moving out of James Brothers up towards Lanes Prairie, all these smaller communities here, back up into Gasconade County. I'll give you some road names here, right along State Highway C, as that continues into southern Gasconade. Looks like that's also going to be tracking up towards Owensville as well. Owensville is actually in the northern section of that warning, as that rotation will slide likely either up towards Owensville or just to the south of there, and eventually move on into parts of Crawford County up north of Cuba, north of Rolla. So Rolla is not in this warning right now. It's in effect for southern Marys County, southeastern Marys County that is, and southern Gasconade County until 5:15. We're going to go back over to the radar just to show you where we have some of that heavier rain and quite a bit of some large hail probably still coming down in this core here just off to the east of Vienna. This is something we've been watching for the last about 2 hours now. As this approached Lake the Ozarks, it was one singular storm. It started to kind of congeal more into a line like we thought it was going to. All these storms kind of picking up into one line here, bringing the threat of some strong winds and, of course, getting a little bit more of that wind shear, indicating where we have some of that rotation. It's right where we're seeing more of that inflow. This is kind of typical of what we see for a tornado warned storm along a line where we have those warm winds going right into the storm, kind of fueling that and allowing more of that curvature, that rotation to happen in the lowest levels of the atmosphere. So that's tracking right into the Highway 63 corridor in southern Marys County. I want to show you our severe threat tracker. This will show us where we have some hail, and this is actually showing us the rotation too. So it's kind of singling those things out very easily to look at. So we can take a look at the hail size first. That is moving out of the Vienna area. Possibly our radar is indicating anywhere up to around egg to maybe baseball size hail. We have not seen too many reports of that. And in fact, our latest scan just came in from the St. Louis radar, possibly up to golf ball size hail. So the hail size coming down a little bit, but right here in yellow, that's indicating where we potentially have some rotation. Sorry, we'll turn that back on. And we'll take a look at that too. That's right in that location, possibly up to 70 to 80 miles per hour in that zone. So if you're within this tornado warning, you want to make sure to get to your safe place. If you're just seeing us, we have a tornado warning in effect for parts of Marys and northern Phelps County and southern Gasconade County until 5:15. We'll go ahead and take a look at this. It's our coefficient. I'm not really seeing any signatures that would show us that we have anything on the ground at this point. And as I'm tracking this, we are not getting any reports that we have a tornado on the ground. So that is good news at this point. We're going to go back over to the velocity and take a look at that signature. We still have a little bit of that rotation. It's not quite as tight as it was in the last scan, but still definitely there. We'll take a closer look at some of these pixels to show you where it is. It's moving out of pay down and right around Lanes Prairie. That would put it along Highway 28 there in Marys County. Highway 28 and State Route C is likely where the best rotation is at this point. So again, this is moving off to the east, northeast at around 40 miles per hour. I want to go back to the radar, so that'll give you kind of a better view of what the storm actually looks like. We're going to be tracking that moving into southern Gasconade County. So I'll put a new track on it, and just because it has picked up in speed and we've had a new scan since we last tracked it. Put it right along the edge. It's going to be moving out of our viewing area soon, so that is good news, but as it still is going to be affecting some of our viewers here in southern Gasconade County, when we're going to give you a heads up in Owensville, where that could arrive by 4:57. So you have less than 15 minutes before this tornado warned storm arrives, so you want to be taking action now. That would be to get indoors, away from windows, on the first floor of your home, in a bathroom or a closet, including a basement as well. So that would be the best case scenario if this storm continues on its current path. Also watching some storms off to the north. This whole cluster is tracking quickly off to the east. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for northern Gasconade County and southern Montgomery until 5:15. That's for the threat of up to 1 inch to golf ball size hail. Those storms continue tracking off to the northeast. And then off to the south, still have a couple of storms, a little bit more broken here, so that's good news, but still keeping an eye on some of these that have developed out of the Springfield area across far southern Missouri. Those are also going to be tracking up towards I-44. That would include our locations in Pulaski and Phelps counties here. So we're not out of the woods yet by any means, and we probably won't be totally severe clear until after 6 o'clock, more likely towards around 7 o'clock as a cold front continues to work its way through. So right now we are on the air here on ABC 17 and Fox 22 because we have a tornado warning that's in effect for the next half an hour. That's for eastern Marys, southern Gasconade, and northern Phelps County. And you'll see that flashing here on the map. So we are not seeing anything that's telling us that we have anything on the ground at this point, but we've been seeing some radar indicated rotation. So I'll turn on the wind shear here. We're seeing that cluster of green is where we have the best chance of seeing some rotation. So that looks like that has moved. It's still continuing to be just north of the Highway 63 corridor, including Vichy, but it is moving through Lanes Prairie right now. So you need to be in your safe place right up along State Highway C and County Road 4, it looks like that's 426 there, right along the county line between Gasconade and Marys County. That continues moving to the northeast. So if you're in southern Gasconade near Rosebud, that's starting to approach Owensville. It's getting even closer to you, likely within the next 10 minutes. This storm will start to move in. And along with that tornado threat, we are going to have the threat for some large hail as well, and along with some heavy rain. I want to show you. We'll go back over to our severe threat tracker. Looks like the hail's picked up a little bit again, continues to intensify. Areas ahead of the cold front this afternoon have had the chance to heat up all afternoon. We really got warm after those storms came through this morning, and the atmosphere had the chance to really recharge. So temperatures in the upper 70s and lower 80s ahead of where these storms have been developing. So a lot of energy to feed off of. We'll take a look at how large the hail is being indicated on the radar here. Possibly still seeing that large signature across northwestern or northeastern Marys County as that tracks out of Marys County east of Highway 63. Still seeing that rotational signature too, and possibly up to some 1-inch hail in that storm surrounding that central core. We'll clear that off, and I want to go take a look at some of these other storms that we've been keeping an eye on. We have this severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for Montgomery County. That one goes until 5:30. Looks like that might have just been issued for that cell there that's moving just north of the Missouri River. That one looks like it could produce some large hail with that core. We'll take a look at that too here. That sampling at possibly seeing up to golf ball, maybe up to egg size hail in that storm. Sawyer, what are you seeing out of the St. Louis Weather Service right now?
So right now we had radar indicated hailstones of up to 1.5 inches. That's going to be ping pong size.
Okay.
And then we also had a train spotter in Montgomery County seeing that ping pong sized hail. So those are kind of the updates from that.
Okay.
As for the rest, they are still continuing that storm warn, that severe thunderstorm warning until 5:15 for Franklin, Gasconade, Montgomery, Warren. That's going to be, again, hailstones of up to 1.5 inches, ping pong, and those are kind of the main things that I have been seeing right now.
Anything coming out of Springfield on the tornado warning?
Let's see.
Clear that off really quick.
We have not seen too much as of right now. Well,
Okay.
Let's see. We see wind gusts east of up to 97 miles per hour, but
Whoa.
that's going to be,
Where's
that is
that
in
report?
Marys County,
Okay.
Missouri.
Yeah, so that's within the tornado warning. So you
Yes.
said up to 97 miles per hour. Where
Yes.
did it have a city on it?
Vichy.
Near Vichy. Oh, that would be at the airport. Okay. So that's coming from the Rolla-Vichy airport. So that wind report up to 97 miles per hour. And that's within that tornado warn storm. So you still want to take that seriously. Just want to give you an update here. I've turned back on our wind velocity. Looks like the rotation has started to decrease a little bit. So that's always good news. But if we're going to be tracking the threat for some damaging straight line winds, this is still something we want to treat as a tornado warning. So we're tracking the line of this. The leading edge of that is where I'm most concerned right now, is we're starting to lose more of that rotational signature. So you're in this tornado warning. You want to treat that as we have some active damage coming, as we're going to be looking at the possibility of winds up to around 80 to almost 90 miles per hour right along the leading edge of that storm coming out of Marys County. So got a confirmed report of some extremely strong winds moving through parts of Marys County near the Highway 63 corridor. So this continues to track into southern Gasconade. If you're in Owensville, this storm's going to be reaching you very shortly, and northern Phelps County. If we have a couple communities that might try to pop up here, we'll try to get very closely. The strongest winds right now right along State Highway H, and that will take us through a very far northern Phelps County. That is where we have the potential for some extremely strong winds, possibly damaging winds moving into that location. These are rapidly moving off to the east-northeast around 40 miles per hour. So I want to zoom out here. We'll take off that severe thunderstorm warning and put a new track on this for those of you in southern Gasconade. So right now it looks like our rotation decreasing a little bit, but our wind threat is picking up as these storms move farther off to the east. So we'll put that track in Owensville. The updated timing, 4 minutes away. So 4:53 is when that storm arrives. This continues on its path. It does look like it's going to be matching up with what we've been forecasting the last couple of days, moving into the St. Louis area sometime between around 6 and 7 o'clock. So those of you that have family in those areas might want to give them a heads up. We've been tracking some strong storms across mid-Missouri this afternoon. So if you're just joining us, we are on ABC 17 and Fox 22 right now because we have a tornado warning until 5:15. It includes eastern Marys County, southern Gasconade, and northern Phelps County. And that's because we saw some radar indicated rotation. And as Sawyer just mentioned, we have a report of 97-mile-per-hour winds at the Raleigh-Vichy Airport. So some very strong winds and possibility of some large hail too as this storm continues to track east. I want to show you the loop here over the last hour. This is the same storm we were tracking out of the Lake of the Ozarks here. So we've been reporting that there have been reports of golf ball to baseball size hail with this singular storm that has kind of started to form into more of a line here over the last hour. So still our most intense cell at this time, possibly seeing some very large hail too as this storm continues to move its way onto the east. Also another warning up to the north. We have two warnings actually for Montgomery County. The first one goes until 5:15 and then western Montgomery County until 5:30. That's for the threat of up to ping pong ball size hail. We did have a confirmed report from a spotter there. In fact, we might start seeing some of these storm reports populating here. If we turn that on, it does look like we have some of those popping up. So we've got to take a tour of our storm here that's under a tornado warning at this time. We got a report, this might have been from at 4 o'clock, of about penny size hail in Owensville. So that's what those storms that came through about 50 minutes ago. Let's see, this might have been our wind gust report here. Up to 97 miles per hour at the Raleigh Airport, and that was about 6 minutes ago. So still seeing a very intense wind signature as this storm continues to work its way east. So let me clear that off, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the winds and the severe threats again, because it looks like this hail core continues to pop up a little bit more, or at least start to get a little bit more intense. So we'll go back over to that right now. And we still have a little bit of that rotation trying to show up on radar here, although it's not quite as intense. But we still want to treat this as a tornado warning, especially if we have winds up to almost 100 miles per hour as this tracks on to the east. Still looking at some very large hail too. Our radar indicating up to 3-inch hail, probably not quite making it all the way to the ground since we're a little bit farther from the radar, but those hailstones probably still increasing up to about golf ball size within this storm. So we want to take this very seriously, get away from windows, get inside. If this storm is still, if you're still on the eastern edge of this warning, want to get inside, make sure your car is under cover as I'm tracking that large hail threat. And of course, take your tornado precautions, which would be to be on the first level of your house, away from windows, in a bathroom or a closet, or in a basement as these storms continue to move onto the east. So still looking at that hail threat and the threat for a little bit of rotation. So we'll go back over to our wind shear. Still have a little bit of that rotation in southern Gasconade County. We'll try to get you a closer look at some of the road network here right along Highway B, Arthur Spring Ford, Sewell Ford, and Redbird. That is right on top of you right now. And if you're up in Owensville, still have a couple minutes till this arrives. We'll go back over to Velocity right now. Doesn't look like we have a super strong signature, but you're seeing a little bit of that curvature right there, just where we're seeing that county, right along the county line between Marys and Gasconade as the storm tracks onto the east. So that's our main focus right now. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning. That's in effect until 5 o'clock, so a couple more minutes on that for Marys County. But the main concern would be this tornado warning. I'm not as concerned for a tornado versus a straight line winds as this system works its way onto the east. We're going to check back in with forecaster Sawyer Jackson. Do you have anything new with either of these warnings at this time?
The reports have been kind of slowing down, as you mentioned. It seems like this system isn't necessarily producing anything that like anything severe like those tornadoes, but they have continued the warning until 5:15 for Crawford, Franklin, Gasconade, moving still at about 40 miles per hour at 4:49. This thunderstorm that was capable of producing the tornado was located 7 miles southeast of Bell, and then moving again northeast at about 40 miles an hour.
Anything on our northern cells here up towards Herman and southern Montgomery from St. Louis?
We are still seeing, again, we have those severe thunderstorm watches in effect until about 7. Of course, this isn't going to be the more current system that we are tracking right now. And then they did continue a tornado watch until about 10 p.m. For a lot of those counties up to the northwest or northeast. But again, we aren't really, reports have been kind of slowing down, so we haven't really gotten too much, at least from those areas.
Gotcha. Yeah, a little bit lower population in some of these areas, unfortunately, where we have that tornado warning. But we're going to keep on the air here as long as this tornado warning continues. So about 20 minutes left for this tornado warning for parts of eastern Marys. It looks like the tornado threat is actually moving out of Marys County. So those of you that have been in shelter, probably okay here in the next couple of minutes. Stay there for now, as I'm still tracking the potential of some very heavy rainfall, and looks like probably quite a bit of lightning too as this continues to move east. But the threat for large hail and damaging winds is moving out of Marys County, so I expect that portion of the warning to drop here soon. But we did have that report of up to almost 100-mile-per-hour winds at the Raleigh Airport within the last 10 minutes. So that is something I'm quite concerned about as these storms continue to work their way onto the east. We'll turn the lightning back off again, and it looks like we have a couple of areas where we might have some very large hail. You never want to see this kind of signature on the radar where you're seeing those black indications on the radar just showing you where we have some very large hail. That looks like that's going to continue tracking onto the east into Glazer Ford. It's moving through Clevesville right now along Highway EE is where we have the threat of seeing some large hail in a couple of spots. That also includes northern Phelps County. Let's go back over to our storm threat tracker. You'll see a few areas here where we're seeing black and white. That's kind of blowing out those radar values just to show you where we have some of those areas of large hail. We can take a quick look at those. Still indicating up to 3-inch hail. I don't think it's going to be quite that large by the time it makes it to the ground, just because our radar beam is shooting from St. Louis. So it has a little bit of a ways to go. That beam goes up the farther away it gets from the radar, but still indicating possibly some very destructive hail and, of course, the threat of some strong winds. I'm not seeing as much rotation, so that's good. We'll go back over to the Velocity 2 to take a look at that. Possibly just a little bit here. I'm not seeing anything too closed compared to what we saw when this was first issued, but we are still watching that possibility up along Highway EE. That's where I think we might have a little bit of that weak rotation. That is south of Owensville. So that looks like it's going to continue tracking just to the south of Owensville at this point. We'll put a new track here as these storms start to become a little bit more numerous out to our east. That is going to be tracking out of northern Phelps County through southern Gasconade up towards Union, Franklin County. We might need to clear this off. Get a little bit farther out here to give us a better idea. We go with the leading edge of that strong wind and put it back up to the northeast. So that is going to be moving into Owensville a little bit slower now. The leading edge of the strongest winds arriving in the next 10 minutes or so. Eureka by around 6:15 and moving through the St. Louis area, probably before at least the western metro area of St. Louis by around 6:24 if that continues to hold together. So I want to go back over to the radar and we'll take a look at everything that we're keeping an eye on here. By far, the strongest storms across southern Gasconade and northern Phelps County moving out of Marys. Still have that tornado warning for the next 15 minutes. Herman, areas near Herman getting some very heavy rainfall, likely some large hail too, just south of New Florence. So on I-70, definitely getting a very large downpour right now, possibly seeing some large hail too as these storms continue to track off to the northeast. We still have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for this cell here that's moving out of Herman up through the Missouri River Valley, and then that's going to be tracking up to the north into portions of Warren and northern Montgomery County. So along I-70, unfortunately, going to be a rough ride there. Also tracking this cell, that is under a severe thunderstorm warning. That goes until 5:30. As that continues to track off to the north, we'll have the threat of a large hail up to around quarter to ping pong ball size. So we'll clear that off. We'll take a look farther to the north. Had a couple of these cells that we were watching through Audrain County. Those have now moved out. And I want to take a wider view because those of you out to the west, you've probably been hearing some rumbles of thunder and getting some rain. I'm not expecting a severe weather threat with these because it's behind the front. So we will definitely have some post-frontal rain, possibly some thunder and lightning, but these cells that you're seeing along Highway 65, I don't anticipate those becoming severe just because we're losing a lot of that energy we need for those storms to really grow upscale. So I want to alert you if you're seeing that they're not severe at this time. So anything west of Highway 63, we are going to be in good shape for the rest of tonight. It looks like the National Weather Service has actually dropped a couple of our counties from that severe thunderstorm watch. So Boone County not in the watch anymore. Still our main concern is these storms that continue to track east of Highway 63. So at this point, we are still within 15 minutes of this warning expiring. So we're going to stay on the air for this tornado warned storm. It still looks like the main concern will be strong winds up to 60 miles per hour. In some cases right along that line, possibly seeing higher gusts as we had that report up to almost 100 miles per hour in the center of that storm within the last 15 minutes. Also looking at the threat for some very large hail too as these storms work their way onto the east. So tornado warning still in effect for southern Gasconade and northern Phelps. Looks like the threat of any rotation or damaging winds moving out of Marys. So while that warning is still in effect, I don't think we're going to have any more problems there with severe weather tonight. So if you're in Owensville, probably getting some very, very heavy rainfall and some hail too. Looks like we might have a new report that popped in here that looks like that has come through. Actually, no, that was earlier. So we'll check out this one. 1-inch hail, that was reported at 4 o'clock. So that was with those earlier storms. Not seeing too many reports. It looks like things that are coming in on these cells right now. Let's see if I can clear these off. There we go. We're going to go ahead and put a new track on these. The most severe of the storms are actually moving out of our viewing area, so that's always good news to see. Right now, we're at 5 o'clock here on Saturday afternoon. Put a new track on these, probably try to catch some of our areas here across southern Gasconade. It looks like it's only picking up areas near St. Louis. So if you're anywhere in this warning polygon, that would include Owensville, up towards Gerald, probably going to be included in this as well. Rosebud, this storm is approaching you now, bringing some heavy rainfall. The worst of the hail is just south of Canaan here. I want to show you that right along Highway EE and Bem Church Road, north of Glazer Ford. We have a very heavy rainfall and possibly some very large hail too as this storm continues to track off to the east northeast. Bell, definitely getting some heavy rain, but the hail threat has passed you by to the east, so you can breathe a little bit easier. Areas off to the south of Glazer, across northern Crawford and Phelps County, getting some of that heavier rain and possibly some very large hail here where I'm indicating that will continue tracking off to the north of I-44. So the good news is the severe weather threat's starting to die down a little bit for a lot of our viewing area, but we'll take a look off to the south and you'll see a couple more of those storms developing, staying just south of our viewing area at this point. It looks like this might just clip Pulaski County. But no major concern at this point. So I want to shift back over to the Springfield radar and take a look at a few of those storms. We still have a lot going on. We're going to keep tracking those as they track just south of I-44. Parts of Phelps and Pulaski counties could still have the threat of some large hail and very heavy rainfall as these storms continue to move through. So active warnings for mid-Missouri at this point. We have a tornado warning until 5:15. That includes Phelps, northern Phelps and southern Gasconade counties. Also have a severe thunderstorm warning. That goes until 5:15 and 5:30 for both of those cells that are moving through central Montgomery County. And main thing with that will be some large hail. So we'll go back over to our closest radar, which would be the St. Louis radar. A lot going on as this continues to form into a line, mainly looking at a damaging wind threat here as this system continues to move through southern Gasconade County. So I want to go back over to the velocity and take a look at that again. Not seeing too much rotation, but let's clear off these storm reports too. Turn on the lightning. Let's go back if I can see it. Oh, there we go. There we have a better idea of what we're looking at. Just south of Owensville is where we have those winds kind of meeting a little bit closely, but I'm not seeing anything that's too defined. We'll go over to our shear tracker. That's also decreased. So this is telling me any threat of rotation has died down a little bit too. but we're still going to be looking at the threat for some strong winds as these storms pull on to the east. So are you getting anything new from either the Springfield or the St. Louis weather offices, Sawyer?
So as for the St. Louis offices, we have had some reports come in over the past couple of minutes. We had several reports from law enforcement about ping pong to egg size hail. So that's going to be 1.5 to 2 inches. So that was reported by spotters. And
Where was that?
This was in Gasconade County, more
Okay.
specifically Bland,
Okay.
Bland, Missouri.
So, yep.
So
Warning.
that was kind of the main thing that was coming in. And again, some actual reports of tennis ball sized hail as well. That was near Bland, Missouri as well, with those strong winds. And then they continued that severe thunderstorm warning until about 5:15 for that for Franklin, Gasconade, Montgomery, Warren. Winds at about 60 miles per hour, hail at 1.25 inches. That was radar indicated. And then as for Springfield, they actually, I believe, issued a tornado warning. This was radar indicated for Douglas, Missouri, until
Okay,
about
that's not in our
5:15.
viewing area, so we don't have to worry
but
about that one.
just to
Yeah.
just to throw that out there. But
Thank
again, that's kind of what's been going on in both of the areas right now. That
Okay.
storm again has been slowing down, but still producing that hail.
Okay, so I am not seeing too much rotation on this, but we still have a tornado warning for the next 10 minutes for parts of southern Gasconade County. And as Sawyer just reported, we've had some possible very large hail, reports of tennis ball size hail and up to ping pong and golf ball size hail near Bland. And that is on the eastern section of the county here. We're still seeing that signature that's very strong, indicating some very large hail that's moving towards Bem along Highway 19 there. That's going to be tracking to the east-northeast. It's slowly moving at around 35 to 40 miles per hour. So we are still not out of the woods for the threat of some very strong storms here moving through Owensville right now. So if you're getting any of this right now and you're in the tornado warned area, with the exception of Marys County, I think we can call ourselves safe as that storm has moved out of the warning that's in Marys County at this point. So if you're in Marys County, you should be severe clear at this point as the worst of this storm continues to track through southern Montgomery, or southern Gasconade, excuse me, and northern Crawford County. Even the worst of the storm now moving out of Phelps County. So my main concern is here for areas along and south of Owensville. That's where we'll have the threat of some very large hail. That continues to track on to the east. So we still have that threat of some very strong winds. To remind you, we had a report of up to 97 mile per hour winds as this storm moved through the Raleigh-Vichy area. The airport, and to be more specific, is where we had that report. Off to the south, still tracking some of those strong storms that are going to be moving up along the I-44 corridor. So can't keep these out of our eyes here. We're going to keep a close eye on those as those track off to the northeast as well. But again, our main concern is this storm cluster that is moving into areas near Owensville. So that continues to track east. And we also have this cluster that has started to form more into a line. Right here off to the west of Herman is where I saw some reports of up to pea-size hail as that moved through Callaway County. So we haven't seen too much severe weather in terms of anything reportable in Columbia or Jefferson City, but certainly had some reports of some small hail as that moved through Holt Summit in Callaway County. So these storms will continue tracking east-northeast. We'll put a loop on that just so you can see the direction here. These cells are kind of by themselves, but notice how those have started to form more into a line. So that's what I'm anticipating this whole thing to do. So where we've had some of those isolated storms all kind of forming into one long line that will bring the threat of an isolated tornado or damaging winds as this pushes out of our area. So we're still going to be under the threat for severe weather, at least for the next hour or so, if not a little bit longer, just because I'm going to keep an eye on these storms that are in some of our southern parts of southern Missouri, approaching some of our southern counties that include Phelps and Pulaski counties. We don't have any active warnings there at this point. So right now we're still on because we have a tornado warning that includes southern Gasconade County until 5:15. I want to pause this again. We'll take a big wide view and This has been tracking. We've been tracking the threat for severe weather across a lot of parts of southern Missouri, a lot of Arkansas this afternoon. Several active warnings there. One long cold front that is going to bring us some big changes. In fact, we're going to be tracking a huge cool down behind this. We're going to be dropping down into the 40s across a lot of mid-Missouri getting into this evening. So it's going to be much chillier getting into tomorrow. We'll take a look at some of our cameras too. We'll take a look at the Columbia camera. Probably quieting down a little bit. We've had some lightning and thunder, but things have started to quiet down a little bit. Temperatures have dropped off to almost 70 degrees behind this. We got up to almost 80 today, so we're on our way down. I just checked before we got on the air with this tornado warning. It's already down into the 40s in Kansas City, so it is a big cool down coming our way. Take a look at the Capitol camera. In Jefferson City, we've had a little bit more rain there. Getting on the other side of that, you'll see wet roads. Temperatures still around 75, so temperatures haven't dropped a whole lot yet, but we've picked up just under 1/10 of an inch of rain with the storms that are moving through. So we'll go back over to the radar. Just to reiterate, we are keeping an eye on storms, the threat of severe weather here across mid-Missouri. We have a tornado warning in effect for the next 6 minutes. That includes southern Gasconade County. It's moving out of Mary. So while you're still in that warning, you can probably be safe to come out of your safe spot. It also includes northern Phelps County. I'm not seeing too much of a concern there either. I'm most concerned about this area here from about Owensville up just north of Cuba. So if you're in Crawford County, that continues to track through. This will continue pushing east, so it's not going to be our concern for too much longer. But if you're in the warned area within Gasconade County, you want to stay in your safe place for as long as this is in effect. So we're going to go back over to our closest radar, which would be the St. Louis one. I want to take a look at velocity again. Still have a little bit of that wind signature. Might have picked up just a little bit since the last scan, just off to the south of Gerald and Owensville. So if you're in Owensville, the worst of this storm just south of you, this is where I'm seeing a little bit of that rotation. We can take a look at that too with our shear tracker. It's kind of pulls out some of the noise. So where you're seeing that red there indicating some strong winds, and we'll try to sample that too. A little bit easier here when we just turn on, actually this is in meters, so that's probably not going to help you all. But that's where we have the rotation right now. It's moving out of Gasconade County into Crawford. So we're going to stay with this as this continues to track out of our viewing area. But I still want to reiterate, this is, even if there's no tornado on the ground, it is still bringing quite a bit of very heavy rainfall, very strong winds, and the possibility of some large hail. So we'll go back over to our severe threat tracker. Look at all that. That has really picked up since the last scan. That hail core has gotten a little bit larger. So that includes a lot of southern Gasconade and northern Crawford County. Crawford not technically in our viewing area, but those of you that can see us right now, we're still tracking the threat for some very large hail in those locations. So this continues to move on to the northeast at around 40 miles per hour. So we'll go back over to the radar, and I would imagine they're probably going to extend either a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning out ahead of this, but it likely will not include our viewing area as this continues to move out. But still, wow, quite a storm there as that continues to track east. So we'll get right along the leading edge of that. This is likely going to start picking up some St. Louis metro areas here just because we don't have as much of a higher population. So I might just need to clear that off. We'll get closer to some of these communities where we're seeing some larger hail just south of Gerald. In fact, if you're in Gerald, there is a chance you could have at least up to 1 inch or maybe even up to ping pong ball size hail if the northern edge of this starts to move in your direction. So keep that in mind. You're probably getting some steady rainfall right now. It's going to get heavier as that approaches you. If you're in Owensville, some very heavy rainfall, likely some at least small to moderate hail falling right now, with the worst of it just off to your south and east. As that continues to move east, that's going to be our concern, along with the winds here and the threat for some rotation. So we have not seen too many reports of anything, at least as far as a tornado on the ground, but some very strong winds as we've been reporting the last half an hour or so as this moves through Marys County. So we have a couple minutes left on this warning. We're going to keep an eye on that. We'll go back up to the north where we still have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for this cluster of storms. That doesn't look like it's producing as large of hail as what we've been watching with this other storm off to the south. So that is good news. We'll go back over to our severe threat tracker. Not seeing quite as strong of a signature again, so that is good. Possibly up to 1 inch hail, maybe, oh, it looks like it's even smaller than that as our radar indicates. So that's good news. That's kind of on the downswing. off to the south, that's still our concern, where we still have that large hail core under that tornado warning. So that's in effect for the next 2 minutes. We'll clear that off. I want to go back to the wide view again. We're actually going to show you what we're looking at out to the west, because those of you in some of our western counties probably getting some of that heavy rainfall up from Sheraton County all the way through Sedalia and back towards Truman Lake, Warsaw area, where we had some stronger storms this afternoon. This is post-frontal, so I'm not expecting any of that to become severe. However, there's a chance we might have a little bit of lightning. Let's go back over. I'll turn that back on. Not even seeing too much lightning with that, just a little bit. Couple rumbles of thunder between about Sedalia and Warsaw along Highway 65. So don't be concerned about that becoming severe. Our severe threat now is east of Highway 54. We have that tornado warning in effect for the next 1 minute. Sawyer, have you heard anything if they're going to extend this, or what are they going to do with this warning for Gasconade?
So right now they are extending at least that severe thunderstorm warning, because there are 70-mile-per-hour winds that have been observed that are heading in that east direction towards Washington, and then kind of moving its way out of Gasconade as well. That is going to be until 6 p.m. at least, the severe thunderstorm warning. It's going to be again extended into that east area. So I believe it'll be out of our viewing area, but again it'll be kind of extending into the east. And then again, we've been getting some reports of hail. They haven't been as big of reports. We've seen 1 inch to maybe 1.5 inches max, but the values have kind of been going down just a little bit. But again, yes, they are planning on at least extending that severe thunderstorm warning into the east as this system keeps on moving along.
Cool. Yeah, it looks like they've just done that. So at this point, it's 5:15 now. Our tornado warning is about to expire. We're still going to keep an eye on this for areas south of Owensville for the threat of some large hail and strong winds. Also keeping an eye on these storms that are off to the south of I-44. Those are under severe thunderstorm warnings right now for 60-mile-per-hour winds and large hail. Not in our viewing area at this time. And then again, areas out to the west, we have a couple of clusters of rain and a few rumbles of thunder. Again, those are not severe. So anything west of Highway 54, we are in good shape. I'm not expecting those to become severe. So at this point, I'm going to send things back over to programming. We're going to keep an eye on these storms that are firing up along our eastern counties. There's a possibility we might need to break in for some of these stronger storms off to the south. But as we don't have any more active warnings, as this severe thunderstorm moves out of Gasconade County, I feel comfortable that we're going to be at least seeing a downtrend of some of our severe weather at this point. So we have a couple active warnings. That warning that is in effect for Gasconade County, that continues until 6 o'clock as that storm moves out. And we still have a severe thunderstorm warning until 5:30 for Montgomery County for the possibility of 1 inch hail. So at this point, things are winding down a little bit, but we will come back if we need to. Keep an eye on the radar on abc17news.com. If you have any pictures as the storms have passed, we would love to see those. You can email those to news@kmiz.com or send them through our website. It's abc17news.com/share. We'll also, if we don't have to pop back on, we will have a forecast update for the rest of tonight. That's coming up on ABC 17 News at 6 o'clock.
This has been an ABC 17 Storm Track Weather Alert Day update.